Hey Scribe, Sarah here. Welcome back to the Right Podcast. I'm so glad you're here because if you've hit play, that tells me one thing: you're a writer. Maybe you're dreaming about writing your first book. Maybe you're knee deep in chapter 5. Or maybe you've got a stack of published novels to your name. Wherever you are on the journey, this is your space. This show was made just for you, my friend. So let's dive in and talk all things writing. Have you ever written something straight from the heart, only to tuck it away because the timing didn't feel right? Well, today's guest is living proof that sometimes the stories we think the world isn't ready for just need a little time to find their perfect moment. Amy Hutton first wrote Ghosted, a swoony, spine tingling paranormal romance, years ago, at a time when the genre wasn't exactly hot in publishing circles. Editors told her the market wasn't there. Paranormal was over. So, like many of us do, she set the manuscript aside and poured her energy into writing and publishing two other novels. But here's the beautiful twist: Ghosted never stopped calling to her. And the stars have aligned. Not only did Amy pull the manuscript back out, but this time the timing was just right. This book has been picked up and it's finally getting the love it deserves. In this episode, Amy and I talk all about the inspiration behind Ghosted, her journey with the book, and how trusting divine timing and your own instincts as a writer can lead to the most magical outcomes. Let's dive in. Welcome to the podcast, Amy Hutton. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
No worries at all. So, I am super excited to hear more about you and your amazing books. And I would really love for you to tell us your story. And I'd love to learn more about you because I hear that you're a former TV producer.
Yeah, that's right. My career prior to writing was in television, and I've kind of worked pretty much everywhere. But I was working as what is a promo producer at quite a senior level, so I was sort of a team manager as well as being an upper level creative, and I was working in network TV, and so that's the things that go tomorrow night on The Voice. Will the chairs turn? I would make those. Movies and things like that, the little 30-second ads, 60-second ads for the incoming program. Yeah, and so I was doing that for quite a long time, and I spent a while in cable TV, and then I was in network TV, and it was very, very, very full on. And obviously, as part of as doing that TV producing job, I was doing a lot of writing with that, writing scripts of different durations, and that was really my favorite, absolute favorite part of the job. And writing has always been something that I've done on and off, on and off. And I was writing short stories and all sorts of different things, but I really wanted to write something longer. And I started working on a story while I was working sort of in the final stages of working in TV full time. And I just found that with the job that I had, which was obviously creative during the day as well, and it's quite high pressure working in network TV. It's very reactive, and you never really know what you're going to walk into any given day. I found that I would go really well for a while, and then I'd just get overwhelmed by work, and my writing would be pushed to the side. And it got to the point where I was like, I don't want to push it to the side. That's what I really want to do, and I can't see how I can do the two things together. So thankfully, where I work, they were really supportive, and I actually left full time, and they were quite supportive enough to keep me contract, so I could pop in and out when I wanted to. Basically, if they had some work and I was happy to do it, I'd pop in. So, which was really, really great. But it gave me the opportunity then to really focus on learning craft and doing some courses and writing this book, and that's kind of how I ended up getting into it. So that was really the beginning of my author journey, was, you know, quitting my full-time job and kind of just going, okay, let's put all the eggs in the basket and see how we go.
But it's so incredible that you were in the position where you could do that. I know so many people watching and listening are just like, oh, if I could just quit my day job, if I had enough money, just go and sit on the beach and write that book. Of course, we can't all do that. So
No,
yeah,
and I know that, and I know that I'm particularly blessed to be able to do that. I will also say I sold my unit
yeah,
just to give myself some money. I had a unit, well, the bank, owned most of it, but
absolutely.
but to give me a little bit of a nest egg so that I didn't have to, I could work, pick and choose when I worked around what I was working on with my book. So it kind of worked really well like that, and so I was able to still keep my hand in TV, but really focus on working on the book. And like I have so much admiration for people who juggle full-time jobs and full-time families and somehow still manage to get a book out there. I'm just like baffled by it. It's just obviously outside of what I can do, and I really needed to. I just felt like if I don't do it now, but I'm never gonna do it. It felt like the moment, and I just felt like I needed to put everything into it, to try and make a go of it. I didn't actually have a plan if I didn't make a go of it. I was kind of just, everybody's like, "Oh, did you give yourself, like, 5 years?" I was like, "Oh, no, I never even thought about that." I was just like, "I'm gonna do
I love your enthusiasm, though. That's great.
it."
So, was that Sit, Stay, Love that you're writing?
No, the first book I wrote is actually the book that's coming out next, which
Oh,
is Ghosted. I know, it's very bizarre, and, everybody always says to you, that first manuscript, you put it in a drawer and you remember it's in that drawer, and, it's always, the book you never really get to do much with. I'm sure that's not true with everybody, but, um it was what I wanted to write, and so I wrote it, and I spent, the next sort of, I wrote it, I think I finished the first draft in about a year, and I spent the next year kind of actually making it into a better book because it was my first one, so I was learning obviously a lot along the way, and I kept working and working on it. I started to pitch it, because I felt like I had it beaten, and people were like, "Oh, I really love this story," and it had won an award. It won like the Romance Writers of America Light Paranormal Award, and it won a couple of other little things. And I was like, okay, so maybe it's got legs. So I started to pitch it, but at that point in time, paranormal was just not a thing. It was a couple of years ago, and a few years ago, and paranormal just wasn't really. It just wasn't popping at the time. So I was getting great feedback and people saying, we really liked your pitch, and this sounds like a great idea. We're just not doing this genre at that time. And while I was working on another story in the paranormal universe, Sit Stay Love, like, dropped into my head one day when I was out walking my dog. And so I came home and sort of started working on that, and then I'd put it aside and go back to my other story until it was at the point where Sit Stay Love was just like ding 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 in my head the whole time. And I went, well, I'm gonna have to write that now. And that's how that book came about. So that was my second,
yeah,
um, full-length manuscript, but my first published book.
absolutely. And you were traditionally published?
Traditionally published, so I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to pitch at the Romance Writers of Australia conference in Fremantle in 2022,
Yeah.
and I pitched to Simon and Schuster, and they picked me up. So they picked me up for a one book deal for Sit Stay Love, and then before Sit Stay Love came out, they picked me up for another two books because they wanted a follow up to that, and then the third book turned out to be Ghosted.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Are there any authors that have really inspired your writing that you just can't get enough of?
Oh, there's lots of authors I absolutely love. I think one book that really probably got me going, I really need to do this, was Minnie Dark's Star-Crossed. I don't know if you've read that, but it's an Aussie romance and it's set in regional Victoria. And I remember reading it and just going, oh, just the words, everything about it just leapt out of the page. And I think it was probably her book and that just absolute love of how she wrote that galvanized my decision to take this leap of faith and give it a go myself. So
Yeah.
I don't know that she's necessarily influenced my writing, but I would definitely say that just reading that book from her made me go, no, I really want to do that. This is, I
Mm.
want to be able to do what that book just for some reason really spoke to me at that moment. And I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's beautiful. So your first two books are very much set in Australia,
Yeah.
rom-com, beautiful banter, and that just comes naturally to you. Are you a really funny person in real life?
I find the banter really fun to write. I don't know if I'm a naturally funny person. Maybe, I don't know. People might go, no, she thinks she is, but I don't really know. But the banter certainly is something. Dialogue, I think, is something that comes quite naturally to me, and I think that comes from my television background
Mm.
because I have spent years listening to TV shows, movies, to pick out those perfect pieces of dialogue that tell a story in 30 seconds. So,
Yes.
like, or 60 seconds, if I was making a promo for a movie, apart from the scripting that I would write around it, you would be looking for the perfect sound off take, the perfect grab from whichever actor that just kind of nailed that moment in the movie and built like a little 30-second story to entice people to go and watch it. So I think I just had heard, I mean, everybody watches a lot of movies and TV, but I have watched a lot of movies and TV and with a different kind of brain,
Yeah,
So
this is all
I,
research, so you're
yeah, yeah, it was. So I was so attuned to dialogue that
yeah.
I think that is probably where my my love of writing dialogue and banter came from. And I think it helped me be able to write that just because I was had worked with it so much.
Mm. No, that's amazing. This episode is proudly sponsored by the Sunshine Coast Fiction Festival, one of the most exciting new events on the Australian literary calendar, and I'm thrilled to say I'm hosting it. Join myself and over 80 other authors and vendors for a 3-day festival of creative inspiration, community, and conversations at Venue 114 in Bocarina, just minutes from the beach and surrounded by the vibrant writing culture of the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. Whether you're a brand new writer dreaming up your first novel or an established author wanting to connect and learn and celebrate this wild creative life, we've got something for you. And bring all your bookish and reader friends too. The weekend is devoted to bookish fun and your chance to meet and chat with authors of all fiction genres, including romance, science fiction, fantasy, crime, and children's. There'll be workshops, panel discussions, author Q&As, and plenty of time to mingle and network and get inspired. You'll hear from some of the biggest names in fiction, including Stephanie Holmes, who's a USA Today best-selling author of dark, delicious fantasy. A.K. Mulford, a Sunshine Coast local who writes fantasy novels, rom-coms, and she's a BookTok star with a heart for magical stories. Rachel Johns is one of Australia's favourite authors of women's fiction and rural romance. Cadence Snow, she's a beloved in the indie romance scene for her gripping and emotional stories. And T.L. Swan, queen of spicy international bestsellers with legions of devoted fans. And Candice Fox, award winning crime writer and screenwriter whose thrillers you cannot put down. And of course, I'll be there too, not just as your host, but with my own table at the signing, ready to chat, sign books, and cheer you on wherever you are in your writing journey. This is your chance to meet some of your favourite authors, connect with other passionate readers and writers, and soak up an atmosphere of creative energy that will stay with you long after the day ends. Tickets are already selling fast, and this is a 3-day event. So if you're thinking about coming, don't wait. The Sunshine Coast Fiction Festival is proudly sponsored by Serenade Publishing, the Queensland Writers Centre, the Sunshine Coast Libraries, and Baventi. Head to sunshinecoastfictionfestival.com.au to check out the full program and book your ticket now. I can't wait to see you there. So, with your background producing, have you ever thought about, changing your novel into a script?
Of course. Well, I don't know. I'd love somebody else to do that, I think. I have thought about that. I've kind of looked at doing, because it's quite a different discipline. And the script writing I've done is, I think the longest thing I've ever done is like 3 minutes, so or 4 or 5 minutes or something. So it's pretty short. Um, and it's a very different way of writing, because you're really writing for the spoken voice as opposed to that reading with all the beautiful descriptive prose that you can put in a book. That none of that goes into when you're writing a script. It's really to be for the written voice, and which is what I was doing before, but not quite in the same way. So I've looked at doing script writing courses, but to be honest, I would love someone to want to translate my books into film or TV, but they probably should be the ones writing the scripts.
That's what they're trained to do. Their zone of
Correct.
genius.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So your next book, which comes out on the 30th of September, is called Ghosted, which I think is beautiful. Look at that cover. It's
I know,
so
it's
gorgeous.
just gorgeous cover, but look at this.
Oh, I love that.
So it's
That is,
got these beautiful little ghosty sprayed edges.
yes.
It's just, I'm so thrilled with the cover. I just think it's gorgeous.
Yes. And such good timing that it's going to be out for Halloween. So it's
Mhm.
going to look amazing on everyone's Instagrams and TikToks. And I would love to know, are you maybe going to do a follow-up in that series? Is there
I'd
an idea?
certainly love to. I mean,
Mm.
that is something that I've always planned to do, and I'm not going to not say that I'm pretty much a long way into writing something. But whether that happens or not, I don't know. I don't have that kind of control. But when I first started writing this book, I always saw it as having another book off the back of it. And so, who knows what will happen? But that would be great if that happens. There's certainly, I think, more story there to tell.
Absolutely. So share the storyline of Ghosted. You've got a professional ghost whisperer and a paranormal podcast host. Like,
Yeah.
awesome.
So she's a psychic. So I'm quite a spooky girl. I really love horror and paranormal stories, supernatural stories, TV shows, movies, all that kind of stuff. So paranormal romance for me was something that I really wanted to write. Or in actual fact, I think when I first started writing this, I was probably sliding a little bit more towards horror, and then just it naturally turned into a romance because apparently I have to write kissing. So it just sort of, I was like, oh, okay, I'm writing a romance. So it became a paranormal romance as I was working on the first draft. Um, and it's a space that I've always really loved and always loved being a part of. So it was what I really wanted to write. But as I said before, it wasn't a genre that was popping
Mhm.
when it had really died off after all the Twilights and all that kind of stuff. I think it was still in the indie space going quite well,
Mm.
but in the traditional space, no one was looking at it.
Mm.
And I don't know if this is the only reason. I think there was always a hunger for this genre. And then Ali Hazelwood, who's obviously a very mainstream rom-com writer, wrote Bride, which was a werewolf vampire romance. And I feel like that opened the door for paranormal again and for people to go, you know what, we actually really love paranormal. And once that happened, you started to see other big authors saying, oh, I've got a paranormal coming out. I've got a paranormal coming out. So when we got to book 3 on my contract, my publisher was like, oh, let me look at your paranormal, because all of a sudden it was having a moment. And so I got that chance to get that out into the world. But yeah, Holly's a psychic. She sees ghosts and she can actually exorcise them, not like take them to the gym, exorcise. I always have to be careful why I say exorcise them from this world. And Callum is a podcaster, but his podcast is like a ghost hunting show. So he debunks fake hauntings essentially, and runs a podcast. And they come together. They have a history. which is a little complicated.
Mhm.
And but in this situation, he asks for her help to investigate a very famous haunted house in a small town with a very long, dark history. The house, not the small town. Well, both actually.
I love it. I love it. Of course, in one of our previous podcast book club episodes, we talked about Stephanie Holmes and Fangs for
Okay.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And I've been following her career since, well, 10 years now.
Yes.
And it's the same sort of thing. Those trends really come and go.
Yeah.
And she's just come such a huge distance, especially in the last few years, while this fantasy and paranormal is coming back in. And
Yeah, I mean, she's had a fantastic career as an indie paranormal romance writer, or
absolutely.
what does she call them? Smutty vampire romances or whatever she calls them. But yeah, I mean, I've read Fangs for Nothing as well.
Yeah.
So, but she's had an amazing career up until, as an indie author, and now she's, releasing in the traditional space, which is, wonderful. It's so exciting for her.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm absolutely loving it, especially these humorous ones. They're just
Yeah.
yeah, it's so hilarious when you hear paranormal podcast host and tooth fairies.
Yeah.
um, what are they? Professional organizing, people, and
Oh, yeah.
it's
And
just
then
brilliant.
500-year-old vampires or
Yeah,
1,500-year-old vampires. I think it's really old, that one.
grumpy vampire who needs organizing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's absolutely amazing. What is on your to be read, your TBR pile
Oh
right now?
my oh my gosh, my TBR pile. I'd
How
actually
high is it?
oh, it's so high. So I'm just finishing what's it called? Isn't that bad? Look, I literally am nearly finished. I'm just opening up my phone to tell you because 'cause I've been listening to it.
Yeah,
Um,
bit of an
the
audiobook girly?
Yeah, I am, I really love I juggle the 2 and sometimes I will do the both, but if I'm, like, out walking the dogs or something, it's really great, I think, to listen to an audiobook. I really love listening to books, or if you've got a long drive as well, like, you can I did Storyfest this year, which was down in Ulladulla, which is about a 3.5-hour drive from where I am, and I listened to, uh, Caught Up, the second in the Lights Out book,
Mhm.
there and back. And so it was like, yay! And that was really I finished it like 10 minutes from home. I was like, "That was great." So at the moment, I am reading Do Your Worst, which is by the person who wrote a book that I absolutely love. Oh, here, Rosie. This book is so good. Rosie Dannon, she
Oh,
wrote this book, so this is her latest one. But I'm reading the one before Do Your Worst, which is about a curse breaker, and she's in and she's gone to a castle in Scotland to break a curse, and there's an archaeologist there, and stuff happens. So that's really cute. So I'm reading that at the moment. I'm also about to start reading Starry Eyed by Catherine Pollock, who's a local author, and so that's my next one. But I have like a huge TV. There's so many books on it, and I keep going. I'm going to read this one next, and then something else happens, and I'm like, oh no, now I've got to read that one, and I'll pop that aside, and I'll get back to it. But yeah, so
well, we know everyone is gonna go and put Ghosted on the
yeah,
top of their TBRs.
I hope so. I hope so. I absolutely. I mean, I really love this book. It's a very special book. I think it's got a really good story for me, like being the book that really started the journey and me never really knowing that I had all intention to indie publish it.
Mm.
And then I got the contract for Sit Stay Love, and I went, well, I can't exactly indie publish something while I'm about to, step into the traditional publishing world. So I put it off to the side, never always kind of thinking it will have its day. I just don't know how that will happen. So for it to be being released through Atria Books, which is an imprint of Simon and Schuster Australia, is just it's just wonderful, and it's getting a US and UK release next year as well, which I've never had before. So I'm so I'm so excited, and I love this story. I love it. It's probably the closest one to me, even though my other 2 books very much I love animals, and they're all about pets and rescue pets, which is a very big part of my life. I have a rescue staffy,
Mm.
um, but this feels very personal. This book, so I'm really thrilled. that it's getting out there, and it's so pretty.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm absolutely so excited to read it. Do you have any advice for writers?
I think believe in yourself. I think don't believe people when they say that your first book should always stay in a drawer. If you actually do believe in it and think that there's something there worth working on and pursuing, I don't mean do that for 10 years at the detriment of a career, but if it's something I was doing it in the background while I was writing other things, I would always go back to Ghosted. And because I'd have an idea and I'd go, oh, and I'd go back and maybe just revisit it for a few weeks and then go back to what I was working before. So it was like a passion project that I always kind of kept burning in the background, and it made it way better because I was becoming a better writer because I was writing and writing, so I could go back and revisit it. So I do think if you have something that you truly believe in, don't just give it up because that's the norm. But I guess I have two areas. I think the main thing is you've got to write.
Yeah.
Getting the words on the page is the most important thing, and the work is the most important thing. And I say that because I'm also going to say it's a really great idea to connect with social media, readers, and other authors and build a community as you're starting out,
Mhm.
because they're the people who are going to introduce you to other readers and introduce your work to other readers and authors, and also having a community of authors that you can talk to, because really if you're not an author, you probably don't have any idea what we, go through on our own in a room, like with the characters in our head struggling to get that onto the page. So I do think that's really important, and I think that's something you should start straight up, but it should never take the place of doing the work. The
Yes.
words are the thing that is what's gonna,
Yep.
get you published either independently or traditionally. So you have to get those words onto the page. And the more you write, and to be honest, the more you read, the better writer you become.
Yeah. Absolutely. Totally agree. So where can we find you and your books online?
So my books are everywhere. So I mean, Since Day Love and Love from Scratch have been out for a while now, but they're still available online through all the big booksellers, with Dimmicks and Harry Hartogs and all those, and QBDs and everybody, and Amazon, obviously. Ghosted will be out on September 30, and it'll should be everywhere. And they're all available also in ebook and audiobook. So if you prefer your content digitally, that you can get that as well. I'm really excited about the audiobook for Ghosted because I think she's going to be really great doing the
Yeah.
read. And it's American because Ghosted is set in America, so it's a little bit different. So I have an American accent, and
Yeah.
so that's really going to be fun. And me, you can find me at Amy Hutton Author across everything. So that's
Absolutely.
basically my tag across
Yeah.
Instagram, TikTok, Substack, everywhere.
Awesome. Well, I am so excited to I will probably be listening to it, but I am super excited to be doing that. Thank you so much for your time and generosity today. That has been so much fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wasn't that just the most inspiring conversation? I love how Amy's story with Ghosted reminds us that no manuscript is ever wasted, and that sometimes the universe is simply waiting for the right moment to let our stories shine. If you've got a book sitting in a drawer, maybe this is your sign to dust it off, revisit it, trust that the timing will be right when you're ready to. Thank you so much for listening today. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you left us a review or shared it with a writer friend who could use a little encouragement. And as always, you can find more writing support and resources, including my self paced Fiction Writing Academy and the free brainstorming fun sheet, over at serenadepublishing.com. Until next time, keep writing, keep believing, and remember, your story matters.